All right, so here's what the PCC library website looks like. We'll come back to this in just a moment. And like I said before, there is Google, and there are different flavors of Google that you can use besides just the main one that you're probably familiar with. There's also Google Scholar, which focuses just on scholarly research, journal articles primarily. And then there's also Google News, which is a great source to use if if your topic involves something that you want to bring up to present day and think about how current events have been shaped by the historical event that you're talking about. So a few different options there. All right, so the next question is, how do I get started? So you know you're supposed to use the library website, you know that Google's an option, but let's talk about specifically how you get started with research. Because before you even start putting in words and looking up materials, you'll want to have a plan. So the first thing you want to do is do some brainstorming of keywords on your topic. So this is really useful for a few reasons. First of all, it helps you just think about your topic and think about what you know and you don't know about your topic, and helps you think about different aspects of the topic you might want to focus on. But also it's useful because the library databases in particular are very particular about what words you use when you're searching. So you know how Google can kind of read your mind and figure out like, oh, you said this word, but I know you really meant this word. And it will just give you options regardless of what you typed in that are sort of related. Um, the databases don't do that. They are literally looking for the exact word that you typed. So you want to think about lots of different kinds of words, lots of synonyms, lots of forms of words that you might want to search. And that'll just help you. Once you have those lists, you can try different combinations. You can kind of like do this mix and match thing, and see how your results change. So for example, let's think about a few people talking about, sorry, a few people mentioned wanting to talk about gentrification, racism, and redlining in Portland and Oregon in general. Great topic, because there's a lot of great information on there on that topic, and it's really interesting and important, and it affects people's lives right now. So take a moment if that's your topic and just write down what you think some of the related topics might be. So whatever your topic is, you can do this. And you want to use like different kinds of synonyms. So words that mean the same thing, like racism, white supremacy, you can use specific examples like anti-Asian racism, anti-Black, anti-immigrant. You could try different phrases like that. And then you could try things like gentrification, real estate, redlining. These are all phrases that are related, not exactly the same words, but they're related and will help you uncover the proper sources that will help you with your research. Um, and then I also like to remind people to go bigger and go smaller. So whatever your topic is, try zooming out and thinking about a more high level way of looking for that information. So for example, you could say, you're interested in Portland, but you could try Oregon, or you could try Pacific Northwest, or you could try US, and just to see what else you get when you broaden out a little bit. Just because if you're specifically talking about Portland, your sources will be a little bit limited. And then zoom in too. So, you're talking about racism. Well, racism is a really big, broad topic. Can you zoom in and think about, you know, what specifically are you talking about? Are you talking about anti-Black racism? Are you talking about the KKK's history in Oregon? There are lots of different things you can think about to get very specific. And then as you're searching, try those different combinations and see what you get. Try not to put in too many words into a library database at one time. It can get confused. Um, it just needs a limited number of words. So you want to try to be succinct when you're doing those keyword searches. Another way to kind of develop your understanding of your topic is to look at a Wikipedia article to get those search terms. So, I think probably a lot of teachers and librarians have scared people off of Wikipedia. And I'm not saying that you should use Wikipedia as your source, because you should not. But you can use it to get background and to just understand your topic a little bit more. So let me do an example here. Go to Wikipedia and let's say, well, let's talk about Stonewall, the Stonewall riots. That was someone's topic, so let's pull that up. So here's an article that will tell you a little bit about the riots. That's a great background to have. Also, you'll get lots of specific information about what happened. So, for example, if you wanted to look up a newspaper from June 28th, 1969. Now you know the exact date that that happened, and you can go look up an old newspaper and see what people said about what happened. You're getting lots of keywords like civil rights movement, Greenwich Village, mafia, drag queens. These are all specific keywords that you can add to that brainstorming list, right? And so you can try those keywords in the database. And the last thing to show you is down here at the bottom, there's going to be the citations that are used in this article. So there are all these footnotes. Oh, actually, this is what I meant. These. So there are these footnotes, and a lot of the times you can just click on those links and it'll take you to the article. Not always, though. And so they've done some of the research for you, so you can follow some of those links. One of the reasons we don't use Wikipedia as an official source, as the original source, is because sometimes those citations are a little bit sketchy. So, you can use that, but just keep in mind that you want to make sure that those are credible sources. All right. So there are those citations. Also, as you scroll down here, there are external links. So these are additional reading sources that are outside of Wikipedia, right? So like this one is from the New York Times. This one, this one here is from PBS. So they have selected some key resources that are from hopefully reputable sources that you can use. So you can use those materials, even though they're coming from Wikipedia, they're pointing to other sources that are more credible, more reliable. Okay, so that's another option for getting started on your research. Another option is to look for a PCC library guide on your topic or something close to your topic. So I'm going to show you what our library guides look like. So here's a link directly to them, and they're separated by different subjects. So for example, let's look at history. So you see there are a number of different specific topics here that are focused on history. So let's say you wanted to talk about African American history. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll see that there are some recommended sources. There is a collection of primary sources. So again, those are the sources that are created at the time of an historical event that you're studying. We have different websites that have great additional resources that you can use. So that's an option. So you can look in our research guides, go back to this and look through these and see what kinds of sources we recommend. I put together these guides. So if you have any suggestions for things you'd like to see in these guides, or any comments, let me know, because I can change them. Oh, I went straight to the link to this page, but let me show you how we get there from the PCC library homepage. So we're back on the homepage where we were before. And then under shortcuts here, we can scroll down a little bit to research guides. Okay. That's where that is. Another option for finding good sources. And then the last note I have here is to make sure that you let your search process guide your topic development. What I mean by that is as you read more and learn more, let that inform how you're looking and where you're looking. So it can be kind of a fluid process. This is getting back to what I was saying at the beginning about letting your curiosity guide you and letting that be the way you learn, so that you're not just trying to find one specific thing. You're guiding, you're being guided by the information and by the research you're learning. Okay. And of course, another important part of the research process is to reach out to a librarian so you can make an appointment with me or one of my colleagues. All right, now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty where I'm going to actually do some sample searches with the topics that you gave me. So let's start out with the library catalog. So we're going back again. This should look familiar by now. This is the PCC library website. And I'm going to put in a search term here. So I'm going to start with the one I was just talking about, Stonewall. So let's try Stonewall riots. Let's go ahead and pull that up. Oh, you know what? Let me back up and just say what I'm doing here, because I want to point out that I put that search term into this first box that says books, videos, and more. And you might notice that right next to it, there's another search tab that says articles. And you might be thinking, well, we're supposed to be finding articles. Shouldn't I search under articles? And you can, but I'm going to show you this way of searching all of our databases simultaneously and all of our materials. So that's why I'm recommending starting this way so that you can see a bunch of different things to start, and then you can narrow down as you're going along. Okay, so I've put in my search term Stonewall riots under books, videos, and more. And now I'm going to go to the tab, if I can reach it. There it is. Okay, so this is the search I just did. And you'll see that a lot of this is like books and videos. Some of them are books that are online that you can read as ebooks from home. And some of these are videos that you can stream. See, wherever it says online access, that means you can just click on it and watch it from home. Similarly with the books, like there's some books that will have that online access link. So that's an option. But you probably want articles, right? So let's go ahead and change this drop-down menu where it says PCC and Summit. I'm going to change that drop-down menu to say articles. Okay, so now I'll get a new search that searches all of our articles. So just so you understand, PCC subscribes to about 100 different databases. And within each of those databases, there are several thousand journals in each database. So you multiply that out and it's like 10,000, 50,000 different journals that we have access to through your MyPCC login through the library. That's a lot, right? So what's nice about doing this search is that it's searching all of those journals at once. But the flip side of that is that it can be a little bit overwhelming. I mean, look at, I've got, 5,000 results here. But some of these look pretty interesting. So I might want to start digging in at this point, or I can start adding some of my keywords that I brainstormed earlier. So if I have different things I want to put in here, I can try putting in a keyword like transgender. And then I get more specific articles. And then I could try a different word because maybe I want to say something like anti-gay legislation or LGBTQ rights or gay liberation movement. These are all different phrases that will get you different results. Okay, but they all kind of mean the same thing. All right, so if you find an article you're interested in reading, you can click on, actually, you can click on any of these links. There are almost too many links here, but let's try read online. And if you're at home and you haven't logged in yet, it'll prompt you to log in and it'll take you to the full text of the article, whatever database it's in. So these are all subscription databases, and you can tell that it's a subscription database because it says so up here. And you see the PCC logo, you had to log in, and that's how you know you're in one of our databases and not just out on the open web. So lots of different ways to interact with this. You can read the full text in your web browser. You can download the PDF. You can get the formatted citation for this article by clicking on Cite. You can email it to yourself. Lots of different ways to continue the research once you found an article that's interesting to you. Yeah, also look at this over here on the right. There are these suggested articles that are other similar articles that might help you with your research. All right, so that is doing what we call an aggregated search in our library database. So that's going to get you the broadest, biggest number of research articles, is doing that through the library database. And I'm just going to show you one more time quickly. So I reinforce it in your mind. You're going to the PCC library website, put in your search terms under books, videos, and more, click on search, and then in this drop-down menu where it says PCC and Summit, change that to articles, and then click search again. Now you'll get articles. You can see that here where it says article. Okay? So that's searching in the whole of the library. But sometimes you want to get more specific. And I'm going to show you some of these specific databases that are more focused. Okay, so for example, Gale U.S. History is another database that we have access to. These names are just the names of the companies that run the databases. One of the nice things about this Gale database is that if you don't have a topic yet, this is a good place to browse. So you can just look through these topics and see what interests you. So maybe, for example, you want to talk about Japanese American internment. So that was, during World War II, Japanese American citizens were rounded up and put into camps, mostly here on the West Coast. And so this is an article that talks about that history and what happened. So this is an overview first. And then as you scroll down here, you'll see that there are different kinds of sources. We're getting back to what I was talking about before about different kinds of sources: primary sources, academic sources, newspapers. This database separates all those different kinds of sources by category. So let's look here. So for example, they've got a section called primary sources. So these are sources that were made at the time of the events by people affected by them. So like this one, for example, looks like it's a first person story, someone telling their story about being interned in the internment camps. And then there are things like images. These are more primary sources. So like this is a poster that was posted when they were rounding up and incarcerating the Japanese Americans. Videos, audio, lots of different types of materials, as well as those secondary sources, right? Here it says academic journals. These are going to be secondary sources. Part of the way you can tell is because they're academic sources, but another part of the way you can tell is by the date. Look at that, November 2024. So this was written and published just a few weeks ago or a few months ago. So that's obviously got to be a secondary source. Again, like I said, I'm going through these kind of quickly. I hope that you will make an appointment with me so I can talk more in depth about how to find just the right thing for your assignment. Okay. Gale World History is basically the same as US History, just has a global focus. I'm going to show you a database called JSTOR. Can't remember what that stands for. It's like journal storage or something like that. But this one is more history focused. So one person was talking about wanting to write about the history of shipwrecks. Such an interesting topic. So I'm going to go ahead and put in just the search term shipwrecks. But again, if you have that list of brainstorm keywords, you can try different keywords in there and see what different things you get. For example, you might try maritime disasters or sailing accidents or something, something like that. You can try different terms and see what you get. Okay, so I'm putting in shipwrecks. And we get quite a few articles here. But the cool thing I want to show you from this particular database is that if you scroll down here on the left, you'll see different types of sources you can use, including primary source content. So let's just look at these images and see what they are. Okay, so we've got some different representations of shipwrecks throughout history, maps. We've got some artifacts that were found with shipwrecks, got photographs, all kinds of things. So it's just fun to explore and see what's there. All right, last one. I want to show you one more database, and then hopefully you'll get a chance to play around with some of these with your own topic. This one is called Opposing Viewpoints. And it's called Opposing Viewpoints because it takes controversial topics or kind of meatier topics that have lots of different perspectives and then organizes it into different kinds of viewpoints. So this can be really useful for the topics that, have some controversy, have some discussion topics that you want to explore. Just like before, if you have, if you're not sure what you want to write about, this has really good suggestions for different topics. But I'm going to use one of the topics that someone brought up, and they were talking about gentrification. So gentrification in Oregon is a big topic, and in Portland in particular. I'm going to start typing the word gentrification, and I can see that not only is it in this database, it's a topic guide. So they have a whole guide dedicated to the topic of gentrification. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And just like before, there's an introductory article that's going to tell you give you some background on the topic. And then as you scroll down, once again, you're going to see these different types of articles. What's new here is that there are these viewpoint articles that express an opinion and oftentimes a call to action of some kind. So you can look through some of those. Again, we've got infographics, we've got images, lots of different types of sources that you can use in your research. All right, so thanks for bearing with me. Those were the 4, if you, depending on how you count, different databases I wanted to show you. Again, the library has so many more databases and so many journals. Really, it can be kind of overwhelming, honestly. So do reach out if you need any assistance. Okay, so the last thought for this presentation is I'm just going to talk a little bit about how you know if a source is credible, because maybe, you're researching in a database or you're doing your research online and you've got a source and you're not sure if it's credible. And credible doesn't necessarily just mean, is it true or is it not? It can also mean, is it from a respected source? Is it from a source that is good to use for college level work? And let's just talk about that a little bit. So first of all, let me ask, what is credibility? And credibility is really about being an acknowledged expert in a topic with vetted research and information. Okay, so the image I have here is of a NASA chemist who worked for NASA during the moon exploration of the 1960s and 70s, and he would be a credible expert when it comes to talking about moon rocks, because that is what he studied. He knew a lot about it and wrote a lot about it. Very credible source. Now, if he was writing a paper also about redlining gentrification in Portland, Oregon, he may or may not know good information about that, but he's not necessarily a good, credible source on that topic because that's not his area of expertise, unless he experienced it personally, which he may have, So that's what we mean by credibility, that you have this information, you have this knowledge and experience, and people recognize it. One of the ways to determine if a given source is reliable or credible is through this method called the SIFT method, SIFT. And that was developed by the University of Oregon. And it's just a systematic way to look at material that you find online or elsewhere, and do it in a very systematic way that helps you understand where it's coming from and whether or not it's good for you to use. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this link just to show you. Whoops, I should have checked that link before. Anyway, I've got a little preview of it down here in this slide. So the SIFT of SIFT stands for stop, investigate, find better coverage, and trace claims. So it's a way to dig into a particular article or website or what have you, and first stop and think about the source and what it's saying, and then investigate the source. So think about who this person is who's writing it, or what the website is or organization. And then see who, and then you find better coverage. So that means that you find out who else is talking about the same topic and what do they say. So if you can think of a reliable source that you already know, find out what they say, and does that agree with what this other person is saying or not, and how. And finally, trace claims. So that's looking at their evidence. So that's really analyzing a work and finding where they're getting their information and then tracing that back to the original. And then when you do that, you get an idea of where they got that information, how they're interpreting that information, and whether you would interpret it differently. And I think it's kind of fun. It's sort of like being Sherlock Hound, right? You're doing this investigation. So you're really digging into a source and understanding it. And as you're understanding a source more, you're also understanding your topic more. So, as I was just talking about, you're finding better coverage, you're tracing those claims. So as you're doing that, you're also developing more knowledge on a topic, as well as vetting your original source. Okay, so it can be kind of fun. So that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a really fun time with your topics, because, I think they're really good topics. And I think you're going to enjoy finding out new information and expanding your mind and expanding your understanding of these topics. So please do make an appointment with me or one of my colleagues, and reach out if you have any questions. I'll send a separate email that has the various links that I talked about today, including a link to my calendar where you can make a reservation, make an appointment with me. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day.